Okay, so we've got our classification pyramid activity. This is a STEAM activity. So you need your composition notebook out. You need to update your table of contents. I would write classification pyramid activity and then maybe put SG Fear or STEAM in parentheses after it to let you know that this is one of those. We're going to do the S, G, F, and the E in science today and Friday. And then math is going to do the A and the R as well, and it's on the back of this paper if you have it, or just scroll down on this document. This document can be found on your in your notebook on this slide, and it's slide number 9. If you'll notice up here at the very top, it says STEAM Journal Activity Sheet, SG Fear. There's a link. It's above the bat, the snake, and the octopus at the top right. And this video is going to be posted right there on Hurley's explanation. So anyway, so long term, down the road, Friday, you're going to be making a pyramid like this. But that's not where we're going to start. We're going to start with this document. So state the problem. In your notebook, you should have already updated your table of contents. And now you should be on whatever page you said you're going to be for your table of contents. And at the top, it needs to say classification pyramid activity, just like it does in the table of contents. And then I want you to write a big S, maybe 2 lines big, just a big S, and write state the problem, and then literally write the problem. You shouldn't be really writing anything on this little sheet of paper. This sheet of paper is just a guide for you. All of your stuff should be on notebook paper in your composition notebook. So right now, go ahead and write state the problem, which is how similar are the animals that I see at the zoo or in nature? And you're going to write that word for word. You're not answering that question. You're writing that question because this is state the problem. All right, so let's go ahead and do the G, gather information. Let's read. It says, take notes during class. Summarize that info for this step. Then research 7 different organisms that you might find at the zoo. One must be a plant. You could also do a fungi if you'd rather do that. Then it says pick one animal as your specimen. We'll get to that in a second. But let's go ahead and review what we've talked about in class before. In class, we've talked about the levels of organization. I'm going to teach you a new word, taxonomy. Taxonomy. Go ahead and write that down. For this is gather information. So you go ahead and write G, gather information, or info. And then take notes. These notes do not have to be line for line for line, like line after line. They can be in groups. I saw one person last period taking like a postage stamp size, and they wrote all their notes for one word there, and they wrote all their notes another word in a square beside it. Like they just made almost like a graphic organizer of some of their notes. And you can do that if you want to. This is your section. I'm not grading how well you wrote your notes. I'm just looking at. I want to see that you are taking notes. You're gathering information. So write the word taxonomy down. And a really simple way, the way that I'm going to use the word taxonomy today, taxonomy is essentially the levels of organization for an animal. So if I say, give me the taxonomy of a lion, we already did that. Remember when we did that? Let's find that slide. We did that here. This is the taxonomy. These are the levels of organization for a lion. So taxonomy is the levels of organization for an animal. That's how we're going to use that today. It's a little bit more broad than that normally, but we're going to use it that way today. So you have a taxonomy. The oak tree out there has a taxonomy. You have already been placed, and maybe this makes you feel, weird, but you have already been placed in a taxonomy. Your groups have been decided. You are in Eukarya, you're an animal, you're a chordate, you're a mammal, and you've got other groups that you're also part of, but you share those 4 groups with a lion. You're in the same group as a lion. Now, again, as you go down, we are more and more and more and more specialized, more specific, which is what's called species. We have a species. But your taxonomy has already been determined. Do y'all know the last 2, the genus and the species for us, is Homo sapien, H. sapiens, Homo sapiens. And so a taxonomy of a lion is as, what's in black on the screen. So for gather information, you're going to write what taxonomy is. You're going to anything that you remember from class that you need to use in this assignment, then you need to put that here. Taxonomy is probably going to be the biggest thing. You can also write down that every organism has a taxonomy. Every organism has been assigned levels of organization. You don't have to determine that today. That has already been figured out. Taxonomy of every organism has already been decided. So you're going to use Google, you're going to go online, you're going to search for the taxonomy of each of these animals. And I'll tell you something that your English teachers will hate. Y'all want me to tell you? I'm just kidding. They're not going to hate it. They won't. They may not love it, but they're not going to hate it. If you go to Wikipedia, go ahead and look up lion. Type in lion, Lion, taxonomy. Lion taxonomy. Taxonomy. Tax, oh my. No, tax on, oh my. So you're going to type in taxonomy, and in that you'll see the classification for a lion. So if you look at the lion taxonomy, click on Wikipedia, over here on the right is something very, very helpful. It shows the kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. And you may notice that I skipped over subfamily and I skipped over suborder. There may be additional information here, additional levels of classification. But you just need did King Philip come over for great spaghetti? You need those main ones that we talked about. I want to point out a couple other things. When it comes to plants, it's going to be weird. Just give what you can find on here. When it comes to plants, there's going to be clades. There's not going to be a phylum. There may be division. You can write the division instead of the phylum. But when it comes to plants, it's going to be weird. Just write down what you can. You'll also notice domain is not on here. I'm going to leave it up to you to figure out what domain the kingdom animals are in. That should be on your 6 kingdoms chart. If you look on your 6 kingdoms chart, look up animals, it tells you on there which domain it is. It tells you which plant is in. It tells you fungi and protists. It tells you what domain those things are in. So you'll need to look up that if you can't remember. But domain's not going to be on here because that's just so broad. It's just assuming you know that an animal is in the domain that it is. Another thing, this says species is Panthera is P.Leo, which is fine in most cases, but when you put the species down today, I want you to put Leo down, because P stands for Panthera. So every one of these that I'm about to show you, this little chart, it needs to have just one word in it. So that would be Leo. The one before that would be Panthera, Bifilidae, Carnivora, Mammalia, all the way back. So what am I talking about? Where are you going to put this information? Let me show you. On slide number 9, you'll see it says use this spreadsheet. You can go and click on that, and you're going to make a copy. And it's going to open up this document here. You're going to make a copy. So you got to go to File, make a copy, and just put your name on it so you've got it. You can go ahead and do that. And over here, you're going to list some animals. You're going to list some animals, and you're going to explain which of these, like what the taxonomy for that animal is. That's what you're going to end up doing today. This should be what you finish today. So let's go ahead and double back. Right now, you've been taking some notes. I want you to summarize those for this step, and then I want you right now for this gathering information is to pick 7 different organisms. One of them can be a plant or a fungi. If you want to use fungi, you can. But the other 6 can be animals, and then pick one as your special, your favorite. It can be your favorite or whatever, but you're going to pick one of those, and then that's going to be your focus of the activity, and for the rest of the directions, it'll call that thing the specimen. So you're going to write down 7 organisms. One of them is a plant or a fungi, and then you're going to pick one of those as your favorite. Let me suggest something to you to make this a more interesting and less boring activity. I would suggest that you pick a variety of animals. Don't pick all mammals. Pick some insects. Pick some things that fly. Pick some things that crawl in the trees, that walk on the ground, that crawl under the earth. Pick a variety of those 6, as many as you can think of. So these are things in the zoo that you could see, or these are things that you could see if you go out in nature. Either one is okay. But go ahead and do that now. Pick your 7 different organisms, as broad and as diverse as you can. All right, so we've done the S and the G. You should have written down your 7 different animals or organisms. One of them can be a plant or needs to be a plant or a fungus. The other one can be animals. And then pick your favorite of those things. And then so now form hypothesis and design. So go ahead and skip 2 or 3 lines if you want to, and then write form hypothesis. Again, you're not writing anything on this document or on the paper. You're doing this on the paper I gave you. You're doing this on your notebook paper. So form hypothesis, go and write that down. And this is where you're going to make your educated guess. Use the information we've talked about in class and the information we've talked about just now and what you know about those animals already. I want you to make an educated guess, as educated as it can be. Your phrase may be similar to something like this, or it may start like this. I think the animals that are going to be the most closely related most closely related to my specimen are the whatever, or they will be in the same class or phylum or order This is similar if you remember back in class when we talked about the wolf, the squirrel, and I think the lion. We talked about how they're similar and how one's a rodent, the other ones are not. Anyway, so an example might be, I think the polar bear will be most similar to the wolf and mountain lion because all of them are animals, all of them hunt other large animals in the woods, and all of them have fur to keep them warm. That may be an example of your hypothesis. This has to answer this question. How similar are the animals that I see in the zoo or nature? And you're using for your research, you're using the 7 organisms that we talked about. The 7 organisms that we talked about. 6 animals. All right, so go ahead and form your hypothesis. Write it down. Write all that down in your STEAM journal. All right, so now, if you haven't done so, I want you to go to this document, your slide number 9 today. Make a copy of this spreadsheet. Go ahead and put your first animal name for animal 1. So for mine was lion. I would put a lion. Type it in for number 1. And then go to the Wikipedia, or you can use another website if you want to. I've just found Wikipedia to be the easiest to get. Go to Wikipedia. And I would go split screen. So this is how you do split screen. You move the cursor all the way over until it hits the side. So grab it and hit until it hits the side. It'll do half. And then on the other one, on a Chromebook, it'll just be done like that. And then you can do the same thing to the other tab. I'm just going to move it like this. Chromebook's a little bit different than Windows, what I'm on, but it's close enough. So I'm literally going to look at domain. Domain's not on there, but you should know what the domain is. I'm going to look at kingdom. Kingdom is animalia, so I'm going to highlight it, copy it, Control-C, paste it with Control-V, and I'm done. Phylum. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the right column, P for phylum. Class. You can do this all the way across. You're going to make sure that they line up, make sure you're in the right thing. And I would not worry about changing the colors. Don't change any of the colors. They're there. I think you'll find in the end it'll be beneficial. But it's going to change it to certain colors, and I think you'll like that. So, family, move it over. Genus is Panthera. Move it over. And then the last one is Leo. Copy and paste. If this isn't split screen, you'll see that it's all the way across. But that's what I've got for mine. And you're going to do this for every single animal and then a plant or a fungi if you want to. But you need to put the name of the organism. Be as specific as you can. Don't say snake or bird or something like that. Be specific. What kind of bird, what kind of snake, what kind of fox, what kind of lizard. Be specific about what you're talking about. What kind of bear, stuff like that. And then do this for every one of them all the way down, and that should be enough for I think that's going to probably take up the rest of this class period. All right, real quick, I did this. When you get to plant, so I just looked up a water oak. I don't think most of y'all would get a water oak. But when you look up a plant, a lot of these, the taxonomy for this, the levels of classification, they're going to have this thing clad, or clade. I've always pronounced it clad. This clad, don't worry about the things that, these clads, fill in what you can. So, for example, it doesn't have the phylum or the class over here, but it does have kingdom and order and family and genus and species. And so you're going to write down those or copy and paste those. So if you'll notice, that's what I've got here. And that's the taxonomy for plants is a little bit different. They use different words and stuff. If you want to, if you see the word division, that's the same thing as phylum, so you can add that there. But that should work. So make sure this list is filled out. That is your homework if you don't finish it. You need to fill it all the way out. And you'll notice as you start doing these things, these colors will actually change, and there's a purpose for their color, for the change. And I think that will help you later, possibly. One thing I don't want you to do, I don't want you to go back and make sure each of these boxes have the perfect font and they're the perfect color. This is just to help you get it in order, and you're going to move this over. You're going to move 2 or 3 of these over into your STEAM journal later. But this is to help you kind of get all your data all together and be able to organize it very easily to where you can see it. So if you don't finish this in class, go ahead and finish it for homework.